the sewer guys. Ah, hi.
I said, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. So we were just discussing some things that are going on with Robin and what she's going to work on today and all that good stuff. So yeah, kind of picked up in the middle of a sentence there. Terribly sorry about that.
Hello.
Robin was saying that there may be some noise and she will mute if that happens. And if that happens, I'll read.
There we go.
Lovely. Do you mind? I have some chips over there and I'm a little hungry. Do you mind starting? And
I will start.
And before we get started, I don't know. Do we have anything else that we need to say before we get started? Maybe not.
No, I think we're good. I didn't set up any lights this time, but I noticed my light yesterday kept shifting from cool to warm temperatures, so it made it look like my face was like flushing.
I did not notice. I have not watched it back, but good to know.
I'm gonna try it anyway because that's better than looking just sort of dead. My pillows fell. Now I'm really short. My God, will it ever end? Ow!
Well, I set up a little bit differently. This is like yesterday I was sitting on my bed. Today I'm sitting on the floor near my bed, and I figure I can drop the camera and have whatever I work on right here. I have not decided what that's going to be yet. I might try the cross stitch again. I stopped yesterday because I realized that I had messed it up.
No.
So I have fixed that.
Good.
But
yay!
And I'm super blown out because it's sunny today. Here, let me close these blinds a little bit.
Sunny's good though. I'll use a little more sun.
Oh, it's good. I just need to make sure that you guys can see. Not so blown out. Hey!
Yay!
Yeah. So
when I listened to the playback, the other thing was your volume was a lot lower than mine, so I don't know if I need to be quieter or if you need to be louder.
I don't know. Does it get louder if I do this?
Yes.
Oof, so do you. Okay. Ooh. I do have a headset that I can use. I mean, I use it for work and whatever, so if my audio gets crappy, then I can put that on. I just don't, wear it for funsy.
Yeah, no. No, the pinching of the ears is not enjoyable. Ah, you can see. Look, you can see the T-Rex kitty fish.
Is that what that is?
Yes, Abby asked me to draw it for him when he was 3.
That's delightful.
Yes.
What was I going to say? Oh, I found out who did the art on the cover of the book that I showed you yesterday. It was Hobbiton himself, so we are fake nerds because we didn't know.
Well, I only got a glance at it. Ooh, can we wait like 2 minutes so I can go grab the ones I was talking about yesterday?
Sure.
Be interesting for 2 minutes. I'll be right back.
Oh, Lord. Okay, no pressure. What's interesting? Let's see. Oh, do you guys want to help me pick a project today? Yes, you do. You can't tell me that, but you do. Also, no one's watching yet right now. Forget it. But anyways, so project. My room is relatively in a state where I'm okay with people here. Over here, see, here's what I was working on yesterday. That's the headband. Work on that today. What else do I have? Let's go to my closet and find out.
I'm here.
That was quicker than I thought. There's my seahorse.
Whoosh. Whenever I'm on my own with my brain like just defaulting, I sing the first verse of a song that Peter Beagle wrote for The Last Unicorn. Except I've never heard the tune, so every time I sing it to myself, it's got a different tune.
But is it 20 seconds long?
Yeah, it might be.
Cool. That's handy. I was just bringing my computer over to the closet so that the world could help me choose a project. Oh yeah, those! I love those.
Right? And then they do that.
Mm-hmm.
And that. Wait, wrong way.
Yeah. That. Yes.
so pretty. And of course, I never read them because I don't want them to fall apart because they're old.
Sure.
But I have them.
I'm
Pride
not
of
my like an old 70s copy of the October Country. It's got a really cool cover and like definitely is it's like it's an early printing. It's not first printing, but it's pretty close.
Right.
And I never read it because I don't want it to fall apart. It's the same art as they have printed on later editions, but different colors. Mine's like purple. So
Ooh.
cool, I gotta say.
Is it that person in the wind in front of the mansion with the walking and the
They're like
bleakness?
walking an alligator or something.
Yeah.
That's the one.
So, God, that's such a weird book.
You
Don't
may,
read October Country late at night when everyone else is sleeping. Just don't do it.
you may hear some noise in the background. Felix just woke up from his nap.
Okay.
I would like to think that we didn't wake him up, because he's been asleep for like an hour and a half, so he's probably not up.
Right.
What else? I just read a book that you shouldn't read late at night. Oh, I just read this book called The Merry Spinster. It's by a guy who's so here's the thing. The name on the cover of this book is Mallory Ortberg.
Uh-huh.
But the guy who wrote it has since transitioned and gotten married, so his name is now Daniel Lavery.
Okay.
So, but anyway, it's super messed up, and there's like a version of the Velveteen Rabbit that is incredibly creepy, and you should not read at night.
Okay.
But it's really good.
Tanith Lee wrote a book of short stories called Red as Blood.
Yeah, I have the second one, Redder Than Blood. I got it from the library, but I haven't read the first one.
Oh, it's so good. Like, I barely remember it. I remember that one of the stories, it turns out that Red Riding Hood is a werewolf. Like, yeah. But it's been a long time.
Okay, so I'm picking projects here. So I'm going to point the camera at my wall o' yarn.
I think I hear the plumber arriving.
Okay. I'm trying to find a particular thing, and I can't.
Which particular thing?
I have a bag somewhere in here that has some yarn in it that is the same yarn with which I knitted these fingerless mittens right here.
Oh, so pretty.
Thank you. Let me get them in front of the camera. I can't tell which way I'm going. Here we go. So, and this one, not this one. Okay, this one has a little hole right there that needs to be fixed.
Yeah.
The other one has a hole in the palm. So I wanted to find
I
that.
saw something pinkish in there. Pointed at the closet again. Right in the middle, there's pink. What about, how about over to your right a bit? Down. Next to the iron. Yeah.
No, that is not it. That's also orange.
Damn. It's hard to tell through a camera.
It is, yeah.
All right, you look for that and I'll read.
Okay, I'm going to mute myself because it's going to be like crinkly, so.
Yes. Watch out for this skull.
Shan't.
Inside Bag End, Bilbo and Gandalf were sitting at the open window of a small room looking out west onto the garden. The late afternoon was bright and peaceful. The flowers glowed red and golden, snapdragons and sunflowers and nasturtiums trailing all over the turf wall and peeping in at the round windows. "How bright your garden looks," said Gandalf. "Yes," said Bilbo. "I am very fond of it indeed. Fond indeed of it, and of all the dear old Shire. But I think I need a holiday." "You mean to go on with your plan, then?" "I do. I made up my mind months ago, and I haven't changed it." "Very well. It is no good saying any more. Stick to your plan, your whole plan, mind, and I hope it will turn out for the best, for you and for all of us." "I hope so. Anyway, I mean to enjoy myself on Thursday and have my little joke." "Who will laugh, I wonder?" said Gandalf, shaking his head. "We shall see," said Bilbo. The next day, more carts rolled up the hill, and still more carts. There might have been some grumbling about dealing locally, but that very week orders began to pour out of Bag End for every kind of provision, commodity, or luxury that could be obtained in Hobbiton or Bywater or anywhere in the neighborhood. People became enthusiastic, and they began to tick off the days on the calendar. They watched eagerly for the postman, hoping for invitations. Before long, the invitations began pouring out. The Hobbiton post office was blocked, and the Bywater post office was snowed under, and voluntary assistant postmen were called for. There was a constant stream of them going up the hill, carrying hundreds of polite variations on, "Thank you, I shall certainly come." A notice appeared on the gate at Bag End. No admittance except on party business. Even those who had, or pretended to have, party business were seldom allowed inside. Bilbo was busy, writing invitations, ticking off answers, packing up presents, and making some private preparations of his own.
Bilbo was practicing responsible social isolation.
Indeed, from the time of Gandalf's arrival, he remained hidden from view. Are you remaining hidden from view? We should all have no admittance except on party business on our gates.
Except no parties.
Except on future party, 2021 party. I need to go for a minute.
Okay,
hang on.
Well, I will just be over here being interesting with some knitting.
No. Holy sh!
What's up? Are you okay? You want to stop?
It was going to cost us $100 to fix the plumbing. Now it's going to cost us $6,000. I need to go have a conversation. Will you read for a little bit while I do that?
Yes, absolutely. And if you need to have a longer conversation and you need us to stop for today, that's fine as well.
Okay. You go ahead and read without me. I'll be able to catch up.
All right. Also, just as an update, because I was muted when I found this, and people might care, this is the yarn I was talking about. This is Sheared Bliss. I don't know if she's still dyeing. I got this quite a while ago. I got this at the Renaissance Fair. But she's a local dyer. She uses all natural dyes. So this one was made with cochineal and tea. That was very cool. As we discussed yesterday, gender in clothing is fake, and I wear whatever the hell color I want. In this case, it is pink. So I had this thing. I think this is a cowl of some sort. I'm not really sure. But yeah, but I haven't decided if I want to rip this out or not. And I don't have another end on the ball of yarn, so I can't just like do that. I'm a little concerned about the integrity of this yarn, actually. Just a bit. Anyways, that's where we're at with that. It is lovely yarn, and I don't know if I still have the pattern I was making or what that pattern was, or if I'm going to finish it. Let's read. Okay. Where were we? Tilt this down a little bit because it's fun. We're in book 1. Oh yes. No admittance except on party business. Bilbo was busy, writing invitations, ticking off answers, packing up presents, and making some private preparations of his own. From the time of Gandalf's arrival, he remained hidden from view. One morning, the hobbits woke to find a large field south of Bilbo's front door, covered with ropes and poles for tents and pavilions. A special entrance was cut into the bank leading to the road, and wide steps and a large white gate were built there. The 3 hobbit families of Bagshot Row adjoining the field were intensely interested and generally envied. Old Gaffer Gamgee stopped even pretending to work in his field. The tents began to go up. There was a specially large pavilion, so big that the tree that grew in the field was right inside it, and stood proudly near one end at the head of the chief table. Lanterns were hung on all its branches. More promising still to the hobbit's mind, an enormous open-air kitchen was erected in the north corner of the field. A draft of cooks from every inn and eating house for miles around arrived to supplement the dwarfs and other odd folk that were quartered at Bag End. Excitement rose to its height. Then the weather clouded over. That was on Wednesday, the eve of the party. Anxiety was next. Then Thursday, September the 22nd, actually dawned. The sun got up, the clouds vanished, flags were unfurled, and the fun began. Bilbo Baggins called it a party, but it was really a variety of entertainments rolled into one. Excuse me. Practically everybody living near was invited. A very few were overlooked by accident, but as they turned up all the same, that did not matter. Many people from other parts of the Shire were also asked, and there were even a few from outside the borders. Bilbo met the guests and additions at the new White Gate in person. He gave away presents to all and sundry. The latter were those who went out again by a back way and came in again by the gate. Hobbits give presents to other people on their own birthdays. Not very expensive ones, as a rule, and not so lavishly as on this occasion, but it was not a bad system. Actually, in Hobbiton and Bywater, every day in the year it was somebody's birthday, so that every hobbit in those parts had a fair chance of at least one present once a week, but they never got tired of them. On this occasion, the presents were unusually good. The hobbit children were so excited that for a while they almost forgot about eating. There were toys the like of which they had never seen before, all beautiful and some obviously magical. Many of them had indeed been ordered a year before, and had come all the way from the mountain and from Dale, and were of real dwarf make. When every guest had been welcomed and was finally inside the gate, there were songs, dances, music, games, and of course food and drink. There were 3 official meals: lunch, tea, and dinner, or supper. But lunch and tea were marked chiefly by the fact that at those times all the guests were sitting down and eating together. At other times, there were merely lots of people eating and drinking, continuously from 11s until 6:30 when the fireworks started. The fireworks were by Gandalf. They were not only brought by him, but designed and made by him. I'm going to move a little closer in case my audio's quiet. And the special effects, set pieces, and flights of rockets were let off by him. But there was also a generous distribution of squibs, crackers, bacca-rappers, sparklers, torches, dwarf candles, elf fountains, goblin barkers, and thunderclaps. Sounds to me a little bit like the rap bit in The Ultimate Showdown. Gandalf the Grey and Gandalf the White, and yeah, I know the whole thing. I'm not going to do the whole thing unless we get many comments asking for it, which we won't, because right now we have no one watching the stream. Sure. But anyways, that's what that reminds me of. Squibs, crackers, bacca-rappers, sparklers, torches, dwarf kid. I'm not going to do any more of that. That was very embarrassing, and that's on the internet forever. Please let's never speak of it again. They were all superb. The art of Gandalf improved with age. What do you suppose it'd be like to be an immortal being who just concentrates on making the best fireworks that you possibly can? I guess you've got to have a hobby. Let's not make that a quarantine hobby. Nobody blow up your house, please. There were rockets like a flight of scintillating birds singing with sweet voices. There were green trees with trunks of dark smoke. Their leaves opened like a whole spring unfolding in a moment, and their shining branches dropped glowing flowers down upon the astonished hobbits, disappearing with a sweet scent just before they touched their upturned faces. There were fountains of butterflies that flew glittering into the trees. There were pillars of colored fires that rose and turned into eagles or sailing ships or a phalanx of flying swans. There was a red thunderstorm and a shower of yellow rain. There was a forest of silver spears that sprang suddenly into the air with a yell like an embattled army, and came down again into the water with a hiss like 100 hot snakes. And there was also one last surprise in honor of Bilbo, and it startled the hobbits exceedingly, as Gandalf intended. The lights went out, a great smoke went up. It shaped itself like a mountain seen in the distance and began to glow at the summit. It spouted It spouted green and scarlet flames. Out flew a red golden dragon, not life-size, but terribly lifelike. Fire came from his jaws, his eyes glared down. There was a roar, and he whizzed 3 times over the heads of the crowd. They all ducked, and many fell flat on their faces. The dragon passed like an express train, turned a somersault, and burst over Bywater with a deafening explosion. How do the hobbits know what an express train passes like? Tolkien would no doubt say this was a translation of a different concept in the Red Book. Sure. That is the signal for supper, said Bilbo. The pain and alarm vanished at once, and the prostrate hobbits leaped to their feet. There was a splendid supper for everyone, that is, except those invited to the special family dinner party. This was held in the great pavilion with the tree. The invitations were limited to 12 dozen. Hello, Diamond.
A gross?
A number also called by the hobbits 1 gross. Though the word was not considered proper to use with people.
Yeah, there's no mistake and no recourse. Our $100 sewage problem just turned into a $6,000 sewage problem. The tree roots crushed the pipe out at the street.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Anybody watching, I have a Patreon account and I love to make art, and it would be nice to be making some money for reasons. So go to Bite the Paintbrush on Patreon and pitch in a couple bucks, and
link in the description box below, and also in the description of our channel. There will be. It's not there right this moment, but yeah, there will be.
Thank you. Enough reality. Let's go back to Middle Earth. Do you want to keep reading?
Do you mind? Do you want me?
I'll read so you can eat.
Thank
you. Let's see. Gross.
We're after the fireworks display.
Aw, I missed the fireworks. I'll have to go back and read them.
I was discussing what it would be like to be an immortal being who just spent all your time perfecting the art of, like, fireworks.
All your what?
Just spent all of your time perfecting the art of fireworks.
Right? Like, that's a hobby and a half.
Mm-hmm. Not a good quarantine hobby, though.
No.
I'm a mute and start eating my chicken.
I found it. Go for it. And the guests were selected from all the families to which Bilbo and Frodo were related, with the addition of a few special unrelated friends, such as Gandalf. Many young hobbits were included and present by parental permission, for hobbits were easygoing with their children in the matter of sitting up late, especially when there was a chance of getting them a free meal. Bringing up young hobbits took a lot of provender. There were many Bagginses and Boffins, and also many Tooks and Brandybucks. There were various Grubbs, relations of Bilbo Baggins' grandmother, and various Chubbs, connections of his Took grandfather, and a selection of Burrowses, Bolgers, Bracegirdles, Brockhouses, Goodbodies, Hornblowers, and Proudfoots. Some of these were only very distantly connected with Bilbo, and some of them had hardly ever been in Hobbiton before, as they lived in remote corners of the Shire.
I'll be back.
Okay. The Sackville Bagginses were not forgotten. Otho and his wife Lobelia were present. They disliked Bilbo and detested Frodo, but so magnificent was the invitation card, written in golden ink, that they had felt it was impossible to refuse. Besides, their cousin Bilbo had been specializing in food for many years, and his table had a high reputation. All the 144 guests expected a pleasant feast, though they rather dreaded the after-dinner speech of their host, an inevitable item. He was liable to drag in bits of what he called poetry, and sometimes after a glass or two would allude to the absurd adventures of his mysterious journey. The guests were not disappointed. They had a very pleasant feast. In fact, an engrossing entertainment, rich, abundant, varied, and prolonged. The purchase of provisions fell almost to nothing throughout the district in the ensuing weeks, but as Bilbo's catering had depleted the stocks of most stores, cellars, and warehouses for miles around, that did not matter much. Everyone lived on leftovers. After the feast, more or less, came the speech. Most of the company were, however, now in a tolerant mood, at that delightful stage which they called filling up the corners. They were sipping their favorite drinks and nibbling at their favorite dainties, and their fears were forgotten. They were prepared to listen to anything and to cheer at every full stop. "My dear people," began Bilbo, rising in his place. "Hear, hear, hear," they shouted, and kept on repeating it in chorus, seeming reluctant to follow their own advice. Bilbo left his place and went and stood on a chair under the illuminated tree. "Welcome back."
Thank you. I have salsa now.
"Yay!" The light of the lanterns fell on his beaming face. The golden buttons shone on his embroidered silk waistcoat. They could all see him standing, waving one hand in the air. The other was in his trouser pocket. "My dear Bagginses and Boffins," he began again, "and my dear Tooks and Brandybucks and Grubbs and Chubbs and Burrowses and Hornblowers and Bolgers, Bracegirdles, good bodies, Brockhouses and Proudfoots." "Proud feet," shouted an elderly hobbit from the back of the pavilion. His name, of course, was Proudfoot, and well merited. His feet were large, exceptionally furry, and both were on the table. "Proud foots," repeated Bilbo. "Also my good Sackville Bagginses that I welcome back at last to Bag End. Today's my 111th birthday. I am 11-1 today." "Hooray! Hooray! Many happy returns!" they shouted, and they hammered joyously on the tables. Bilbo was doing splendidly. This was the sort of stuff they liked. Short and obvious. "I hope you're all enjoying yourselves as much as I am." Deafening cheers. Cries of "Yes!" and "No!" Noises of trumpets and horns, pipes and flutes, and other musical instruments. There were, as has been said, many young hobbits present. Hundreds of musical crackers had been pulled. Most of them bore the mark Dale on them, which did not convey much to most of the hobbits, but they all agreed they were marvelous crackers. They contained instruments, small but of perfect make and enchanting tones. That'd be a nice change. We've done Christmas crackers a bunch of times, and there's always just like a couple of Oriental Trading Company tchotchkes in there.
Sometimes they're noisemakers, but they're the horrible, like, ones that you do this.
Rattle, rattle, rattle. Yeah.
Is that what that is?
What are those called? Clackers? No.
I don't know.
Whatever. They're not enchanting tones, is what they're not.
They are not that, no.
Indeed, in one corner some of the young Tooks and Brandybucks, supposing Uncle Bilbo to have finished, since he had plainly said all that was necessary, now got up an impromptu orchestra and began a merry dance tune. Master Everard Took and Miss Melilot Brandybuck got on the table with bells in their hands, began to dance the Springle Ring, a pretty dance, but rather vigorous. Makes me think it's a tango, you know?
Is vigorous the word we would use for the tango?
It depends on who's tangoing.
That is true. Speaking of, I recently rewatched Strictly Ballroom, and it really holds up.
I want to watch it again. Bits of it keep getting in my head. Also, we've trained the dog to get up on her hind legs and dance when we say "Paso doble."
Andy had never seen it, so I made her watch it. She agreed.
I don't think my kids have seen it. They also haven't seen Hedwig yet, and that upsets me.
That is sad. All right, so the sprinkle ring.
The sprinkle ring, vigorous, but Bilbo had not finished. Seizing a horn from a youngster nearby, he blew 3 loud hoots. The noise subsided. I shall not keep you long, he cried. Cheers from all the assembly. I have called you all together for a purpose. Something in the way that he said this made an impression. There was almost silence, and 1 or 2 of the Tooks pricked up their ears. Indeed, for 3 purposes. First of all, to tell you that I am immensely fond of you all, and that 11 years is too short a time to live among such excellent and admirable hobbits. Tremendous outbursts of approval. I don't know half of you half as well as I should like, and I like less than half of you half as well as you deserve. This was unexpected and rather difficult. There was some scattered clapping, but most of them were trying to work it out and see if it came to a compliment. Secondly, to celebrate my birthday. Cheers again. I should say our birthday, for it is, of course, also the birthday of my heir and nephew Frodo. He comes of age and into his inheritance today. Some perfunctory clapping by the elders, and some loud shouts of Frodo, Frodo, jolly old Frodo from the juniors. The Sackville Bagginses scowled and wondered what was meant by coming into his inheritance. Together we score 144. Your numbers were chosen to fit this remarkable total. 1 gross, if I may use the expression. No cheers. This was ridiculous. Many of his guests, and especially the Sackville Bagginses, were insulted, feeling sure they had only been asked to fill up the required number, like goods in a package. 1 gross indeed. Vulgar expression. It is also, if I may be allowed to refer to ancient history, the anniversary of my arrival by barrel at Esgaroth on the Long Lake, though the fact that it was my birthday slipped my memory on that occasion. I was only 51 then, and birthdays did not seem so important. The banquet was very splendid, however, though I had a bad cold at the time, I remember, and could only say, "Thank you very much." I now repeat it more correctly. Thank you very much for coming to my little party. Obstinate silence. They all feared that a song or some poetry was now imminent, and they were getting bored. Why couldn't he stop talking and let them drink his health? You know, they were like 2 minutes ago totally ready to just listen to him for however long.
It does say that he was saying things in a way that they liked, which was short.
Oh, yeah.
So, you know.
Yep, they've changed their minds. So fickle. Fickle hobbits.
Fickle hobbitses.
But Bilbo did not sing or recite. He paused for a moment. Thirdly and finally, he said, I wish to make an announcement. He spoke this last word so loudly and suddenly that everyone sat up who still could. I regret to announce that though, as I said, 11 years is far too short a time to spend among you, this is the end. I am going. I am leaving now. Goodbye. He stepped down and vanished. There was a blinding flash of light, and the guests all blinked. When they opened their eyes, Bilbo was nowhere to be seen. 144 flabbergasted hobbits sat back speechless. Old Odo Proudfoot removed his feet from the table and stamped. Then there was a dead silence, until suddenly, after several deep breaths, Every Baggins, Boffin, Took, Brandybuck, Grub, Chub, Burrows, Bulger, Brace, Girdle, Brockhouse, Goodbody, Hornblower, and Proudfoot began to talk at once. It was generally agreed that the joke was in very bad taste, and more food and drink were needed to cure the guests of shock and annoyance. "He's mad, I always said so," was probably the most popular comment. Even the Tooks, with a few exceptions, thought Bilbo's behavior was absurd. For the moment, most of them took it for granted that his disappearance was nothing more than a ridiculous prank. But old Rory Brandybuck was not so sure. Neither age nor an enormous dinner had clouded his wits, and he said to his daughter-in-law, Esmeralda, "There's something fishy in this, my dear. I believe that mad Baggins is off again. Silly old fool. But why worry? He hasn't taken the victuals with him," he called loudly to Frodo to send the wine round again.
I am done eating if you want me to take over, or I can just knit if you're good with reading.
I'll read.
Just wanted to check. Let me know if you want.
I read yesterday. I'll get out my Sculpey, and it's your turn.
Okie dokie. All right.
Sculpey. Oh, can I get to the Sculpey from here? Shite.
Frodo was the only one present who had said nothing. For some time he had sat silent beside Bilbo's empty chair and ignored all remarks and questions. He had enjoyed the joke, of course, even though he had been in the know. He had difficulty in keeping from laughing at the indignant surprise of the guests. He realized suddenly that he loved the old hobbit dearly. Close with the camera here. He loved the old hobbit dearly. Most of the guests went on eating and drinking and discussing Bilbo Baggins's oddities, past and present. But the Stackville Bagginses had already departed in wrath. Frodo did not want to have any more to do with the party. He gave orders for more wine to be served. Then he got up and drained his own glass silently and slipped out of the pavilion. As for Bilbo Baggins, even while he was making his speech, he had been fingering the golden ring in his pocket, his magic ring that he had kept secret for so many years. As he stepped down, he slipped it on his finger, and he was never seen by anyone in Hobbiton again. He walked briskly back to his hole and stood for a moment listening with a smile to the din in the pavilion and to the sound of merrymaking in other parts of the field. Then he went in. He took off his coat of clothes, folded up and wrapped in tissue paper his embroidered silk waistcoat, and put it away. Then he put on quickly some old, untidy garments and fastened round his waist a worn leather belt. On it he hung a short sword in a battered black leather scabbard. From a locked drawer, smelling of mothballs, he took out an old cloak and hood. They had been locked up as if they were very precious. They were so patched and weather-stained that their original color could hardly be guessed. It might have been dark green. Am I the only one that has this desire for a very old, weather-stained, patched wool cloak to wear? I mean, you have one, so I don't know.
Mine's not patched, but it's definitely weather-stained. And I've gone through 15 clasps over the years because that breaks because wool cloaks are heavy.
What is that?
I have a continuity problem with that dark green cloak because it's the one he borrowed from Dwalin, I think.
Mm-hmm.
But somewhere, I think after the Goblin Tunnels, when he's taking an inventory, it said he's lost his friends, he has no food, he's lost his cloak. And it might not be at that scene, but somewhere within The Hobbit, his cloak is missing.
Maybe he finds it again and it just isn't mentioned?
Right? That's more likely than Tolkien actually not achieving continuity.
Seems like the sort of thing that Tolkien would remember.
Right? Hey, if you have an idea about that, let us know in the comments.
Hey!
We're not the only Tolkien heads around.
No, we are not. The cloak and hood might have been dark green. They were so patched and weather-stained that their original color could hardly be guessed. It might have been dark green. There we go. They were rather too large for him. He then went into his study, and from a large strong box took out a bundle wrapped in old cloths, and a leather-bound manuscript, and also a large bulky envelope. The book and bundle he stuffed into the top of a heavy bag that was standing there, already nearly full. Into the envelope he slipped his golden ring and its fine chain, and then sealed it and addressed it to Frodo. At first he put it on the mantelpiece, but suddenly he removed it and stuck it into his pocket. At that moment the door opened, and Gandalf came quickly in. "Hello," said Bilbo. "I wondered if you would turn up." "I'm glad to find you visible," replied the wizard, sitting down in a chair. "I wanted to catch you and have a few final words. I suppose you feel that everything has gone off splendidly and according to plan." "Yes, I do," said Bilbo, "though that flash was surprising. It quite startled me, let alone the others. A little addition of your own, I suppose?" "It was. You have wisely kept that ring secret all these years, and it seemed to me necessary to give your guests something else that would seem to explain your sudden vanishment." "And would spoil my joke. You are an interfering old busybody," laughed Bilbo, "but I expect you know best, as usual." "I do, when I know anything." This is the first moment in this book where we talk about how Gandalf is a really arrogant tool.
Well, I mean, he's been around for how many thousands of years now?
I'm not saying that he doesn't know things. He
I'm just saying you get a little jaded with the mayflies in there.
I mean, I'm already jaded with people. 30 years, but the point is, I try not to make a point of it.
Well, we'll give it another 3,000 years and you'd probably just give up the politeness factor.
Yeah, I'll check in with you. I'll let you know.
Do.
When I know anything. But I don't feel too sure about this whole affair. It has now come to the final point. You have had your joke and alarmed or offended most of your relations. That's the dream.
Right? Yeah.
And given the whole Shire something to talk about for 9 days. Or, more likely, 99. Are you going any further? Yes, I am. I feel I need a holiday, a very long holiday, as I have told you before. Probably a permanent holiday. I don't expect I shall return. In fact, I don't mean to, and I have made all arrangements. I am old, Gandalf. I don't look it, but I am beginning to feel it in my heart of hearts. Well preserved indeed. He snorted. Why, I feel all thin, sort of stretched, if you know what I mean. Like butter that's been scraped over too much bread. That can't be right. I need a change or something. Gandalf looked curiously and closely at him. "No, it does not seem right," he said thoughtfully. "No, after all, I believe your plan is probably the best." "Well, I've made up my mind anyway. I want to seek mountains again, Gandalf. Mountains. And then find somewhere where I can rest. In peace and quiet, without a lot of relatives prying around and a string of confounded visitors hanging on the bell. I might find somewhere where I can finish my book. I have thought of a nice ending for it." And he lived happily ever after to the end of his days. Gandalf laughed. "I hope he will. But nobody will read the book, however it ends. That also is a mood."
Fuck you.
I mean, yes, that too. But also, like, that's kind of the authorial mood, shall we say?
A little
Right.
meta. A little meta. He did. Tolkien, even into his like mid-60s, wanted to write something like this and thought that it was a vanished dream, according to letters he wrote.
It just goes to show it is never too late.
Right?
Oh, they may read it in years to come. Frodo has read some already, as far as it has gone. You'll keep an eye on Frodo, won't you? Yes, I will. 2 eyes, as often as I can spare them. He would come with me, of course, if I asked him. In fact, he offered to once, just before the party. But he does not really want to yet. I want to see the wild country again before I die, in the mountains. But he is still in love with the Shire, with woods and fields and little rivers. He ought to be comfortable here. I'm leaving everything to him, of course, except a few oddments. I hope he will be happy when he gets used to being on his own. It's time he was his own master now. Everything, said Gandalf. The ring as well. You agreed to that, you remember. Yes, I suppose so, stammered Bilbo. Where is it? In an envelope, if you must know, said Bilbo impatiently. There on the mantelpiece. Well, no. Here it is in my pocket. He hesitated. Isn't that odd now? He said softly to himself. Yet after all, why not? Why shouldn't it stay there? Gandalf looked again very hard at Bilbo, and there was a gleam in his eyes. I think, Bilbo, he said quietly, I should leave it behind. Don't you want to? Well, yes. And no. Now it comes to it, I don't like parting with it at all, I may say, and I don't really see why I should. Why do you want me to? He asked, and a curious change came over his voice. It was sharp with suspicion and annoyance. You are always badgering me about my ring, but you've never bothered me about the other things that I got on my journey. No, but I had to badger you, said Gandalf. I wanted the truth. It was important. Magic rings are, well, magical, and they are rare and curious. I was professionally interested in your ring, you may say, and I still am. I should like to know where it is if you go wandering again. Also, I think you have had it quite long enough. You won't need it anymore, Bilbo, unless I'm quite mistaken.
The way your shirt is folded right now, it looks like it probably says Hell's Belgians.
It says Hell's Bells, but I also like Hell's Belgians. Sorry to any Belgian viewers we may someday have, but probably won't. Right, where am I? Bilbo flushed, and there was an angry light in his eyes. His kindly face grew hard. Why not? He cried. What business is it of yours, anyway, to know what I do with my own things? It is my own. I found it. It came to me. Yes, said Gandalf, but there is no need to get angry. If I am, it is your fault, said Bilbo. It is mine, I tell you. My own. My precious. Yes, my precious. The wizard's face remained grave and attentive, and only a flicker in his deep eyes showed that he was startled and indeed alarmed. It has been called that before, he said, but not by you. But I say it now, and why not? Even if Gollum said the same once. It's not his now, but mine, and I shall keep it, I say. Gandalf stood up. He spoke sternly. You will be a fool if you do, Bilbo, he said. You make that clearer with every word you say. It has got far too much hold on you. Let it go, and then you can go yourself and be free. I'll do as I choose and go as I please, said Bilbo obstinately. Now, my dear hobbit, said Gandalf. All your long life we have been friends, and you owe me something. Come, do as you promised. Give it up. Well, if you want my ring yourself, say so, cried Bilbo, but you won't get it. I won't give my precious away, I tell you. His hand strayed to the hilt of his small sword. Gandalf's eyes flashed. It will be my turn to get angry soon, he said. If you say that again, I shall. Then you will see Gandalf the Grey uncloaked. He took a step towards the hobbit, and he seemed to grow tall and menacing. His shadow filled the little room. Bilbo backed away to the wall, breathing hard, his hand clutching at his pocket. They stood for a while facing one another, and the air of the room tingled. Okay, when you put it that way, it sounds a little homoerotic.
Yeah.
Like the tension tingled in the air. They stared at each other, breathing hard. You're like, whoa. What?
With his hand in his pocket.
What kind of scene is this again? Something warrior bonds between men.
Yes, warrior bonds.
Let's see. Gandalf's eyes remained bent on the hobbit. Excuse me, on the hobbit. I have chips in my throat. I don't have the coronavirus. Slowly, his hands relaxed, and he began to tremble.
What they all say.
Look, I'm just saying. I just ate chips. It's not looking good.
Excellent cover.
I'm already in quarantine. What do you want from me? All right, where was I? Oh, slowly Bilbo's hands relaxed and he began to tremble. I don't know what has come over you, Gandalf, he said. You've never been like this before. What's it all about? It is mine, isn't it? I found it, and Gollum would have killed me if I hadn't kept it. I'm not a thief, whatever he said. I have never called you one, Gandalf answered, and I am not one either. I am not trying to rob you, but to help you. I wish you would trust me as you used. He turned away, and the shadow passed. Window again to an old grey man, bent and troubled. Bilbo drew his hand over his eyes. I'm sorry, he said, but I felt so queer. See? And yet, it would be a relief in a way not to be bothered with it anymore. It has been so growing on my mind lately. Sometimes I have felt like it was an eye looking at me. And I am always wanting to put it on and disappear, don't you know? Or wondering if it is safe and pulling it out to make sure. I tried locking it up, but I found I couldn't rest without it in my pocket. I don't know why. And I don't seem able to make up my mind. Then trust mine, said Gandalf. It is quite made up. Go away and leave it behind. Stop possessing it. Give it to Frodo, and I will look after him. Bilbo stood for a moment, tense and undecided. Presently he sighed. All right, he said with an effort. I will. Then he shrugged his shoulders and smiled rather ruefully. After all, that's what this party business was all about, really. To give away lots of birthday presents and somehow make it easier to give it away at the same time. Give it away, give it away, give it away now. It hasn't made it any easier in the end, but it would be a pity to waste all my preparations. It would quite spoil the joke. Indeed, it would take away the only point I ever saw in the affair, said Gandalf.
God, he's such a snippy bitch.
Very well, said Bilbo. It goes to Frodo with all the rest. He took a deep breath. And now I really must be starting, or somebody else will catch me. I have said goodbye, and I couldn't bear to do it all over again. He picked up his bag and moved to the door. You have still got the ring in your pocket, said the wizard. Well,
Notice it, yeah.
So I have, cried Bilbo, and my will and all the other documents, too. You'd better take it and deliver it for me. That will be safest. No, don't give the ring to me, said Gandalf. Put it on the mantelpiece. It will be safe enough there till Frodo comes. I shall wait for him. Bilbo took out the envelope, but just as he was about to set it by the clock, his hand jerked back, and the packet fell on the floor. Before he could pick it up, the wizard stooped and seized it and set it in its place. A spasm of anger passed swiftly over the hobbit's face again. Suddenly it gave way to a look of relief and a laugh. Well, that's that, he said. Now I'm off. They went out into the hall. Bilbo chose his favorite stick from the stand, then he whistled. 3 dwarves came out of different rooms where they had been busy. Is everything ready? Asked Bilbo. Everything packed and labeled? Everything, they answered. Well, let's start then. He stepped out of the front door. It was a fine night, and the black sky was dotted with stars. He looked up, sniffing the air. What fun! What fun to be off again, off on the road with dwarves. This is what I've really been longing for years. Goodbye, he said, looking at his old home and bowing to the door. Goodbye, Gandalf. Goodbye for the present, Bilbo. Take care of yourself. You are old enough, and perhaps wise enough. Take care? I don't care. Don't you worry about me. I am as happy now as I have ever been, and that is saying a great deal. But the time has come. I am being swept off my feet at last, he added, and then in a low voice, as if to himself, he sang softly in the dark. Oh, this this is a good point to pause and talk about singing.
Yes. There's a lot of
There's a lot of it. We don't do it.
I actually have a tune for The Road Goes Ever.
You're more than welcome to sing it if you would like. I will not. More to the point, though, if there's really long songs, we usually just say like song alert, and then we just don't bother because
we tend to do the first verse and the last verse of the long ass ballady things. Sometimes we summarize, or we don't bother because like a character will summarize a song after he sings it.
Yeah. Aragorn.
Legolas too. He sings the song of Nimrodel, and then he's like, "Let me tell you all about her," even though I just sang a song about her. The road goes ever, ever on, down from the door where it began. Now far ahead the road has gone, and I must follow if I can, pursuing it with eager feet until it meets some larger way, where many paths and errands meet, and whither then I cannot say.
He paused, silent.
Is there more to that one?
No, that's it. Then, without another word, he turned away from the lights and voices in the fields and tents, and followed by his 3 companions went round into his garden and trotted down the long sloping path. He jumped over a low place in the hedge at the bottom and took to the meadows, passing into the night like a rustle of wind in the grass.
I've often wondered who those 3 dwarfs were.
Right, it never says. Was one of them Gimli? One of them very easily could have been Gimli. He's Gloin's son.
Yeah. I don't know. Could have been Gloin.
Could have been. I guess. I mean, how long lived are dwarves? Okay, wait.
Quite. And we're gonna see Gloin again at Rivendell.
That's right. Okay. Could very easily have been Gloin. Anyway, let me finish this little bit, and then we can. Gandalf remained for a while, staring after him into the darkness. "Goodbye, my dear Bilbo, until our next meeting," he said softly, and went back indoors. So we don't know who the 3 dwarves were. We never do find out.
Never find it out.
So there's a little bit left when Frodo comes in, or there's like a little small chunk that I could read when Frodo comes home, or we could save that and make this the stopping place. We're at like 58 minutes right now.
Let's stop.
Okay. Stop there for the day. What you making?
Oh.
So cute. I can't really see because it's white and it's blowing out. But is it a dragon?
It is a dragon. I don't know why it's a dragon, but it is. Because it's a very simple shape. That's why.
I'm not Smaug. I'm too cute to be Smaug.
What they all say.
Oh well.
So
I'll save it for the next time I'm working.
Which tomorrow? You want to do some more tomorrow?
I would love to do some more tomorrow. Just light a candle for the rest of my home and appliances, please, because my God, I deserve a break today.
All right. Well, what time?
Speaking of a break today, I was wrong. Facebook has corrected me. My cancer-free anniversary isn't March 22nd. It's the 21st. Today is the day I was told I was cancer-free a year ago.
Anniversary! Oh my God!
Yep, cancer-free-versary.
Cancer-free-versary? Dude! All right. Fuck yeah, someone should send you a cake or bake you a cake or make you a cake or something.
Yeah, I'll make my own damn cake if I have a working kitchen and some flowers sometime soon. Flour is one of the things being hoarded around here. I don't know if that's universal, but
pretty universal, I think.
Yeah.
Fine.
It's hilarious how many raw ingredients are getting hoarded because we've been told for years that Americans don't cook from scratch. So who the hell is it that's buying the flour and the butter and the eggs and the milk?
People who really like waffles.
The raw meat.
People who really like chicken and waffles.
I like chicken and waffles.
I wonder if Sandy would be up to making waffles and having like a breakfast for dinner.
It's a little difficult to do anything celebratory when we're having such issues, but I'll at least light a candle and stick it next to my noodle bowl.
I think you should do that, most definitely, and I am so thrilled that it's been a year.
Yay!
Yay!
Right? Now let's have a year of things getting better from here as well.
Ooh, cheers to that, man.
Yeah. All right. I love you.
Touched our faces.
What?
I said we shouldn't have touched our faces.
Damn it. It's okay. I haven't touched anything else.
That's true.
I touch nothing except my face. This is where my hands live. I touch no other people or surfaces.
We're all just out here reenacting the Scream.
Or Home Alone.
Oh, man.
Yes.
Home Alone 2020.
I did a steampunk version of the Scream. I'm working on a steampunk version of Gustav Klimt's The Kiss, too.
I thought that was what that was going to be.
Yeah, the problem is I did my sketch 1 inch too high. You see how they're squished up there more than they should be, and there's like more room down here than there should be. So eventually I'll scoot the whole thing down 1 inch and then do my steampunkiness. But in the meantime, I'll see you tomorrow at 2. Yeah?
Tomorrow at 2 it is.
I love you.
I love you too.
Cuidado.
Namas. It works too.